Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Gore column in which we take the time to speak with small cap CEOs and executives about recent important news out of their companies. With us today, I'm happy to have Bernard Tourillon. He's chairman and CEO of Uragold Bay Resources, trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol UBR. Now, for those of you who are new to the UBR story, there are probably going to be a lot of you. A little bit about the company. This is a gold and high purity quartz exploration junior focused on generating free cash flow from mining operations. Now, its business model is centered on developing mining projects that are suited for smaller scale startup. We're talking about Capex less than $10 million that'll generate high yield returns. Now, more than just lip service, the company intends to reach its goals by developing Quebec's first placer mine in 50 years, the Beauce Placer Project, and in partnership with Golden Hope Mines, the Bellechasse-Timmins Gold Deposit as well. Bernard, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So it's September 18th here. The reason we're on is because you put out some pretty important news yesterday. Yes. I'm going to just give you a headline here. You signed the letter of intent with FanCamp Exploration regarding the acquisition of 32 claims encircling your Beauce Placer Gold Project. Now, to most people, that would sound ho-hum. Okay, you just acquired some more claims. But this is anything but that, because here's my first question. Patrick Levasseur, the president CEO, said in this quote, this acquisition, and I'm reading this acquisition will change the whole dynamics of the Beauce Placer Gold Project. It could significantly increase the size and scope of our project. So this is more than just acquiring some claims. How is this increasing the size and scope of the project that's already there?
Well, on our press release, there's a map I think that demonstrated, really explained it. I do think everybody should go take on our website or go take a look at that press release, because the pictures is 1,000 words. In March of this year, we issued our first inferred resources on the Placer channel that we developed, and we delineated 23,000 ounces of gold on a 1 kilometer length of the channel. The full channel is 6.5 kilometers, and we always knew that. The thing is, we were able to get what's called the eye of the tiger, okay? But the entire tiger we didn't have. We only had the eyes of the tigers. We didn't have it. And the balance of the properties was held by FanCamp, because they, like us, believed in the potential of that area. So over time, we've been demonstrating our seriousness to it, and now we have the control over the entire channel, which is 6.5 kilometers of length. What that does instantaneously, it doesn't change any of our cost structure, it just changes the potential of the project. Just to give you crazy ideas, when we did our inferred resources, there was some holes that were at the border between our properties and FanCamp's properties. Okay? So we can only account for a part of the gold that came out of that hole in our inferred resource. So just by taking control of the entire property, we now have everything. So it will demonstrate itself as we start moving forward.
Now, you've talked about that you want to put small scale projects into production. So this is one of them. What does acquiring the whole block now mean in terms of making it easier to get financing and get the project going?
One of the issues that we've been finding, it's not the profitability of the project that seems to be a question mark. It is the scope and the lifespan of the project. With this now, we can easily envision a 10 years to plus life of mine for the project, and that's without taking in consideration the gold source potential. In all of our press release, in all of our technical information, we kept saying that we believe that the gold that we're going to be mining, the Placer gold we're mining, has a local source. Now, if you take a look at the map, we had 6 claims. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that the probability that all that gold is going to be on our properties versus on our neighbors' properties, it was sort of a risky venture. Now we control the entire valley, and the way the gold is in that area, it's in a valley. Gold nuggets don't jump from one valley to another. That's a given. So the gold didn't appear here by extraterrestrial. It came there from the ground. Thing is, if you take a look, you'll see it. If you take a look at the picture, you clearly see that we had just really the needle in the haystack. We need the entire haystack to find the source of all those needles. Okay? And that's really what it is. But in addition to this, we will be able to self-finance that development once we get the project going. As I mentioned before, it doesn't change anything in our capital costs to change the project. It really doesn't. It just increases the number of years we'll be working on it, increases the number of years we'll be generating revenues out of it. So it changes the entire dynamics from a, it still meets our criteria of a small project with regard to the capital investment, okay? But the return part will be, you know, should be much more interesting, will be much more interesting.
And I'm assuming that this is a very smart strategic move by FanCap as well, because if you're divided, it'd be probably next to impossible for both of you to, or either of you to get the necessary finance and do your own little work. But by uniting now as one, you know, as uniting the claims, now making FanCap a major shareholder of Uragold, I mean, you're talking from downtown Toronto. That's how important it is that we got to speak to everybody. You're in downtown Toronto for a reason. I'm assuming it's going to make it much, not that it's going to be easy, but make it significantly easier now to discuss the financing you need in order to start moving the project towards production.
Yes. Well, you're totally right. You know, FanCamp has been aware of us for the last 4 or 5 years. We've been demonstrated that we have a better understanding. As I always mention, it's sort of funny because the Beauce Placer in the Eastern Township is the last underexplored gold region in Canada. And there's many reasons behind this. And it's the same reason why FanCam took so many claims in those areas. It's the same reason why at one point Beaumont was working a lot on those areas. It's underexplored, and the geology is not the same as everywhere else. So it requires a specific Beauce thinking for the geology. So you got to develop an expertise, which is what we have done. We've developed an expertise and understanding of the deposit. This is why we did the deal with Golden Hope, because we were the first one to realize that the genesis of the Golden Hope deposit and the genesis of our Beauce Placer deposit are the same. What we say in our press release is basically we anticipate that there's an unknown Bellechasse-Timmins type of gold source underneath our property, okay? Because the reason being that the Golden Hope property is on top of a valley, so the auriferous till material that's in our paleo channel was eroded, and it's some of the sources of the gold that people can pan everywhere else in the Beauce area. You go to many rivers, you pan, you'll find gold. That's gold from there. Ours is a paleo placer, which means the last 4 or 5 glaciation, the material did not move, so it predates a lot of those glaciation. So underneath there is a hard rock source. I'll just give an example. It's impossible to have such a large paleo placer that the Beauce Placer company delineated 160,000 ounces of gold without having a massive source. Okay? We knew.
And let me ask you, because you referred to placer a number of times, and for the benefit of people at home, why is that so important to you in terms of the economics? Explain to everyone at home why you'd be the first placer kind of project in Quebec over the last 50 years, and why is that important to the economics of this potential project?
Well, it's basically free gold. You know, it's basically, you simply have to remove the clay, and then you pick up the gold, and you get either gold nuggets, which in their own sense have a higher value. If you get specialty nuggets above a certain size, they'll have a bigger value. The other issue is that there's no chemical process, there's no milling, leaching, no process. We just extract the gold, gravity system, you know, that's all what it is. We get the gold, we start the process, we wash it, we get the gold at the end of the day, thank you, good day, goodbye. Now, we don't have to send it to a mill, we don't have to have a plant with a crusher, we don't have to send it to chemical, we'll end up producing what's called low gold bars at 98% purity. You can even sell those at 98, you know. We don't, you know, we may have to pay to push it up to 99.99 like everybody else does, but our gold is basically just pure gold. Silly to say, but that's what it is. That's one of the differences. So it's, in the cost structure, the only thing you need is a scrubber, a washer, and a security system. It's very close to diamond mining in a certain way. Basically, it's what it is. You basically, you know, you get the material, you get it there, and then you have your project, and you can sell them. You don't have to.
And I think that's really important for everyone to understand at home, because that's why the Capex, that's why you have this low Capex model, because you're not drilling deep underground and trying to. It's literally sitting on surface.
No, it's an open pit operation. Basically, think about this as a big rock quarries or sand quarries. Plus, since we're the landowner, we are entitled to do that. But That's basically what it is. The only thing is when we process the material to get the rocks and everything else, we extract the gold. So we're not talking about, you know, I don't need $100 million plant to get my gold extracted process. My metallurgical work is very, very simple. It's gold.
Well, give us a sense then. Give us a sense for how much money do you need to get going into this process, and theoretically, if you had all that money today, you know, how long would it take? Do you believe in? We don't have a PEA yet, we know, so we're just looking for a professional opinion. How long would it take for you to get to that point where you're actually starting to generate revenue and start producing?
We've always mentioned it's going to work in two phases. Okay, one of them is let's say I get all the money now. I'll start extracting gold in 2015, and I should be in full-scale production, you know, within 9 months after that.
And how much is all the money when you say if you get all the money?
$7.5 million. $7.5 million. That doesn't change. The acquisition, everything else does not change. It's just the scope of the project changes, but not the cost. So it's a
very realistic. It's a very realistic number again, because there are a lot of projects out there that are economical, but they need $150 to $250 million in capex that they don't have a hope of getting. You're not. That's how you differentiate yourself from most of your peers.
Well, I'll just give you 3 comparables in projects like ours. Okay, Métanol is not really comparable because they're bigger projects, but they still have a $40 million to try to mine 50,000 ounces of gold. That's one type of project. A closer project to ours is the Rolling Start. The Rolling Start being done by Gold Bullion. Now, he issued a bankable feasibility study. He says he's going to be mining 20,000 ounces of gold a year. He talked about his cost and everything else, and he's saying his capital cost is going to be $8 million. But that's just a rolling start for his big project because he has a $100 million market cap. Okay. Me at $7.5 million, I'm in full-scale production, and with this acquisition, we could be doing this for 10, 15 years. and you don't need
the whole $7.5 million now. You can take
no. It's
a roll, right?
It's a rolling start. It's just when we did our 43-101, we put the budget that we have done. We have worked because we've done a lot of work with engineering firms. We're very, very close to the PEA. The only reason why we didn't do the PEA yet was that we knew we were working on the acquisition.
Sure.
And we knew that would change the numbers, so it wouldn't be worth our while to present a PEA in a life of mine of 3 years and turn around and, you know, spend the money to do another PEA to say, oh, we got a 10-year life of mine. So we've been on this discussion with FanCam for 4 years. 4 years of ongoing, 4 years of demonstrating to FanCam that we knew where we were going with following the right approach. You got to remember that one of the critical aspects that we saw was getting the environmental permit. The biggest question that everybody always asks, you'll never get the permit to do this. We've been told that so many times. So we went out and resolved that issue beforehand, before we did a lot of geological work, before we spent a lot of money on the geology, because we instinctively knew, based on the historical information, that it was there. You know, the company, the Beauce Placer company, was a boiling company. So basically it was equivalent of a Peter Monk of the best year. These guys in this time spent the equivalent of $20 million to work on it of today's money. And the only reason why they ended up having issues is that they underestimated the material. The dredge they use, our gold is found in aeriferous till that it's basically clay. So if you use water and clay, you basically create a very sticky material. You can make clay balls, and that was the only issue. And we knew that from the beginning. So, you know, a lot of people tell us, oh, why don't you just go dig up the thing? Well, I understand, but it's not as easy as it is. First of all, there's 20 meters of overburden. It's a simple open pit operation. There's still 20 meters of overburden. And we want to mine it dry, so we don't have the issues of the clay and everything else. So
you're so confident that you went and got the permitting, you're done.
Why, the permitting was the biggest issue, the biggest roadblock we had before. Now, once we got the permitting, once we got the 43 resources, problem was whenever we went to talk to investors, he says, oh yeah, your property looks great. Well, who owns all of you around you was always the question. Because when we make our sales pitch and we tell them we know the gold source is there, we believe that the gold source is there, but based on all the information that we have, we would have to have been extremely lucky for entire gold to have just come up from our forest claim site. So I still tell people, go back and take a look. We now have the entire valley. So the probability that the gold source will not be underneath our property is much smaller now. The other thing is we think there's maybe multiple sources of entries, just like the Golden Hope properties, multiple sources of gold, and we'll have all of them. So that was a strategically important transaction, and we think having FanCamp as a large shareholders will strengthen the base. You know, now the two biggest group of shareholders in the companies will now be management, which we own 10%, Patrick and I.
And the great thing about that is you have. So go ahead.
I was just saying 10%. When I mentioned 10%, that's post FanCamp deal. Okay, so we'll own 10%. FanCamp owns 12%.
And the great thing about that, I was going to say, is FanCamp is going to be holding those shares for the long term at the end of the day, as opposed to had you done financing, for example, for the same amount of shares, you might see a lot of that coming back. Not that we want to talk about the market, but you might see a lot of that come back in the market 4 or 5 months from now. But these kind of deals, FanCamp, because I've seen a couple of my own clients where they've done the exact same thing and they've held on to the shares for years and generated, slowly sell them over a 5-6 year period. So that's got to be great for you to know that you got such a big and stable shareholder.
Yes, and it's very important. I think it's going to add also visibility to our project because FanCamp has a track record of having spun off or done deals like ours that have been very, very successful, RJX, Champion, and everything else. So for us to have been able to come up to an agreement with FanCamp's management, I think it's a demonstration to the value of the project and the synergies of both of us working together. Now, it is, instead of us competing for the areas, basically we're now working synergetically. There's a lot of information that we've found doing the work that leads us to a lot of material, but we were always cautious about basically tooting too much our horn because it would increase the value of the properties that we're trying to acquire. So since this has been an ongoing process, I'm sorry for our shareholders if we've been keeping quiet, but it was part of a bigger strategic decision for us to be quiet in an environment. No, the goal is not going to go away, but an opportunity like this one only comes once, and you have to jump on it. And if you add this one to the Golden Hope properties, basically we have 2 properties that because the Golden Hope property is going to be like the gold bullion property. It's one that you do a rolling start, okay, and that's what we're looking to do. And the beauty of both of our projects now is we basically have 2 projects that we can look to be in production, where we believe we can generate profit even if gold prices went below $1,000. On the Beauce Placers, I'm very, very confident even gold went at $1,000, we would still be generating very interesting return.
And I guess we'll find out more about that, so I'll leave you this as my last question. We'll know the specifics of that if and when you put out a preliminary economic assessment, a PEA. Yeah. When are you thinking of getting that done? Well,
now that we have this behind our belt, this is one of the next issues we want to do. In our budget, in our 43-101, it is budgeted there, and the cost won't change. We may just I think the cost doesn't change. Everything is designed there, so it could take 2 to 3 months to finalize that PEA, but it won't stop us from planning the work of the mining part. It's a multitask subject moving forward. So I think we have a much better story to present to the market and everything else. And if you add this to our other assets, which are our Quartz assets, then I think we're going to have fun.
Bernard, I got to tell you, I'm so glad you take the time to speak with myself and our audience, because clearly we had to go beyond the press release on this one. This wasn't just acquisition of some claims or boring. This is pretty significant. So given what you've done, we're going to have you on multiple times over the next 4 or 5 months just to take you through this process.
This is really what I appreciate, because there's a lot of, this is a 4-year process for us to do, and it only appears in one press release, but this is 4 years of work that are paying out, and it's the next few years we'll be getting the reward of that.
Well, good luck here in Toronto. Glad to have you here in our city, and good luck with your meetings today. And thanks so much for joining us. And we're looking forward to having you back multiple times as you take us through the process of developing this mine.
Thank you.
You've been watching Bernard Tourillon. He's chairman and CEO of Uragold Bay Resources. They trade on the TSX Venture Exchange under stock symbol UBR. Take a look at the press release dated yesterday, September 17th, along with the accompanying map and imaging. Very, very important to add context in this interview. Make sure to watch and follow this company because they're doing some pretty exciting things, and that's a rarity nowadays. So hats off to Uragold for adapting to the environment and reinventing itself and creating some great stuff. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.